Hello, welcome to the Pursuit of Truth. So I've had another video removed from YouTube. Apparently I violated the hate policy. It was number 36, about 9/11. I seem to remember the last, when I got that strike, was because of 9/11. They don't seem to like anything being said about 9/11, even though in that video I was just trying to get to the truth of it based on, the acceptance, what happened versus the videos I'd seen on YouTube, questioning how, well, I'm not going to go into it because I don't want this one to get removed. But I think it all came about because of the archbasphemy video I did, the last one, because I got a comment from someone saying, how dare I, I've removed it now, I blocked the person because I'm assuming that person reported the channel, and that's why this video's gone, so I don't want to report anymore. And they were saying it was that comment where I was talking about the idea of filming those final moments in the essence to try and get that point across emotionally, because when the thing is, it wouldn't have been aired on TV anyway, and I should expect it would have been removed from any social media. But the idea is we as human beings hide from truth and reality, and I think that's why we stay in this perpetual way of not really understanding things and feeling things and changing things, because we think everything's okay. Well, it's not all okay, because people are suffering all over the world. People are dying everywhere of things that are man-made because of the system we live in, of division and etc., countries and all that kind of stuff. That we already know how to make a country brilliant, and we know how to do infrastructure and all that kind of thing, but because of division and wanting to keep hierarchy and power and all this kind of thing, we don't do it, and so people suffer and die. And like with war, I grew up watching war films where it was all glorified. You never saw a drop of blood, you never saw anyone in pain. Whereas in when I saw Platoon, I realized, oh, this is what war's like. And with the Ukraine, they've started showing dead bodies. They're still not showing agony and pain and conflict and people getting shot and that moments after. Then I think people wouldn't want to join war so much. They wouldn't want to fight so much. They'd realise how precious life is, how this person you're shooting is much like the person who's shooting at the other side. We're human beings who have no claim to the land that we found ourselves upon, and nor do the powers that sit in their bunkers while you go out and fight. So this idea, I think if we show truth and reality more, we'd get things done, because people would realise the painful truth, rather than us sanitising it all and not showing it, and then people think, well, it's nothing. But well, it is something, because when you see these things, then you realise what suffering is going on. When you see these charity adverts of people drinking dirty water, you see it. I guess the thing is, though, people then become numb to it, and things don't change anyway. Even when we do see these things and when we know these things, that same as with that sister-in-law when she gave that speech about him turning blue, and that made me feel. I've never seen that before, and also that video of the hand. I never seen that with these previous cases that I've reported on here, mentioned. But it's just my personal opinion. I'm not saying. So, but the thing is that, it hurt me, that comment, because I'm not the type of person to do something for likes, which was the suggestion, or, I want obviously the world to change. I want suffering to change. I don't want it to benefit me. I don't care about that. I care about the message getting across and people in power making that change, and us individuals making that change to understand that the way we're living isn't the best way to live for all of us. Not just because we're all right, Jack, we're not going to do anything about it. And hiding from the truth and reality by, not showing things because it's uncomfortable. Well, yes, some things are uncomfortable, like war is uncomfortable, death is uncomfortable, but we all have to go through it. And by seeing that, maybe that will make us more aware and make us actually want to make these changes and see that we're all human beings, much like each other. But yeah, to get this it was they removed the video for hate policy. It hurt as well, because anyone who knows me, anyone who knows these Pursuits of Truth, or my poems and John Doyle poems, I'm about love, I'm about peace, I'm the opposite to hate. To say that I would say something that, that my views on that, just my personal views of trying to get to the truth, I was trying to be as balanced as possible, and just questioning what I couldn't get my head around. Not saying it is or that, and up to you to research it. I wasn't trying to use conspiracy. That's a CIA loaded term. So it hurts that you have to put all these videos on here that they would suggest that. I don't mind if they say we want to remove it because we don't like it, because it's against what we believe and it's our platform. That would be fine. But to say that I've used hate, I haven't caused any hate to anyone. People may not like it because they don't like what I'm saying, but it's not hate. So yeah, it's not been nice. But this is the thing I noticed, because I've seen that people were saying about, that how Archie Battersby's family are getting attacked because of their view. And, I couldn't believe it, because they're standing up for their child. Okay, some people may get behind the system or the NHS and etc. and not understand why these people wouldn't accept, a doctrine of white coat. But then let's not be sheep. Let's know that, yes, people have good intentions who work in the NHS, but they often base their stuff on other people's research. They may not have done research on these things, and they will just say what they've been taught. And we know there's many mistakes, with Primados. If you think that if you went back 20 years, 30 years ago and you were a woman and pregnant and you asked Primados, and is it safe? They would say it's safe. And if you put this up on social media, everyone would say, oh, why are you attacking the NHS? Blah, blah, blah. And 30 years later, we find out it wasn't safe. But these individuals who were giving it out, they were just as the best of their, of their training, were saying it was safe because that's what they were told by the pharmaceutical companies or the government or those higher up. So you see, it's not like with the Lewis Roberts case that I mentioned before, and there was that case where that child, was it a spinal thing or a head thing, where they didn't want him to leave the country, and would they smuggle him out in the end? And he went to, was it America or Mexico, wherever it was, and they fixed him and it did work, and he's still alive. And so these cases do happen. But if it was in here, because they can't afford that technology, or they didn't want to do it because they didn't think the success rate would be high enough, or the life quality would be high enough, they didn't want to do it. But that child's alive now. And the case that I mentioned before, was it Lewis Roberts? He came out, even though they said he was brainstem dead. So these things do happen. Mistakes do happen. Remember, there was no brainstem test done for Archie. But that's not what I'm really talking about. What I'm talking about is why the hatred. And because I stood up and said my view, I've got attacked, and people saying things and reporting me and all this kind of stuff, where all I'm doing is just giving my opinion. I'm not attacking anyone. I'm not being hateful or using vitriol or shock jock tactics or anything like that. I'm just trying to talk in a balanced way. And it seems unfair when people come across, and because they don't like that, I'm standing for, maybe they see pro-life or whatever, or the fact that, are we free in the society that we live in, or are we not? Because we're not. Because once, you lose your parental rights, which seems to be impossible because it's your child, you've had that child, you can never lose parental rights unless you've done something bad like drugs or whatever, and then they take it away from you. That's still part of the system. But the fact is, if you're a good parent who's fighting for their child, how do you ever lose your parental rights? Well, in this case, they do, because the court takes over, and then that child is then, you don't get to choose. You have to accept. And so there's an argument of that I find problematic, from an idea of freedom, to be truly free, not just to pretend you're free because you're able to watch Netflix or say whatever on Facebook. That's not freedom. Freedom is being free, completely free. Yes, there are some boundaries, because then if we have complete freedom, then everyone go murder each other. Hopefully, if we all taught each other to be not have these divisions of different things, different all this, and accept those things rather than box ourselves in countries and all the vitriol on social media trying to box people or attack people. Anyway, I'm going off into a tangent, aren't I, as usual? But just, it felt, obviously I know when you stand up, there's a chance there's some people not going to like what you say. I don't understand it really, because all I was saying is that I wasn't even given an opinion. I was really just saying that I found it, I didn't like the idea of that they weren't able to make the choice that they were wanting to keep him alive and keep treatment going or move him somewhere else. Yes, I know there's risks and dangers. Obviously, in all cases, there's risks and dangers, and we often sign those things away when we go to operate and stuff like that. So that's nothing new. But in a sense, if other people want to try and treat or give life, or it just seemed very quick to me. I mean, I don't know. I mean, obviously, I wasn't standing up as someone as a medical profession. That's another thing that I got attacked on, probably by other people who don't have medical background, but who find it okay just because I say something to attack me and say, well, you don't have a medical background, you don't know what you're talking about, you didn't do this. Well, yeah, I understand that. I'm not saying that from that point of view. You know, it's up to the NHS Trust and Archie's family. I was just giving my opinion, my view, and what I felt about it, which I think is freedom of expression, freedom of speech. And, you know, obviously not everyone's going to like it. That's fine. You can put a nice comment like saying, I don't agree with what you're saying because of this fact, rather than attacking my person, which I find is, well, there's no need to do that. I'm not attacking the NHS doctors or this, that, and the other. I understand their job and it's difficult for them. They have to do what they do, and there's reasons why they do what they do and how they see things, you know, based on quality of life and etc. But obviously, as every parent, as a parent myself, I want to do everything possible, and I know mistakes can get made. That we've seen that many times through medical history. No matter how good your healthcare system is, there's always mistakes. There's always misdiagnosis. There's always things that change through time because we get a better understanding. So obviously, I get and understand why any parent would want to fight. And yeah, most parents, once that guy comes with his white cloak and his clipboard, will accept without question. And I don't actually think that's the better way. Because I think you should always make sure, you should always research, always, you know, question it and make sure, because we've seen instances that I've already catalogued. And so I don't see a problem with people fighting for their children because they believe that they've seen signs. You know, maybe they misdiagnosed Lazarus sign, you know, with the hand or the eyes. I've never seen the hand thing described before. I know you can get twitches through the spinal cord and flickers of the eye. But obviously from their point of view, if that wasn't explained nicely to them, that they didn't understand that these are spinal things, you know, rather than the brain being alive. But of course the problem is the brain stem test wasn't done and it was probability of being dead. That's probably the crux of why it was left to question. So, but I get why any parent, any person who's a parent or not a parent would want to fight for those that they love. Yeah, I know when it gets to a certain extent, maybe you have to give in because nothing is good is going to come from it. But I don't see a problem with fighting and making sure, because sometimes mistakes are made. Like with that case that I've mentioned with Lewis Roberts, where they wanted to diagnose, give away some of his organs, and they were due to do that, and he'd been told he was brainstem dead, and then he woke up and he's fine. If they'd done it the week before, he'd be dead now. And you know, they would have believed that this, you know, brainstem death test was complete and it was definitely never going to wake up. We can turn him off and give his organs away. And yet he's alive because of timing. So it does happen. Yes, I guess it's rare. Like the NHS said it was rare. But you never know, is it? That's the problem. If you give in too early, it's like when, you know, you see these, when you watch these reality shows, survivor shows, where it seems like they're going to lose. And they don't give up and they carry on and somehow they end up winning. You know, this is, you know, it can happen. So I get why parents who love their children might want to fight. And I don't think there should be anything wrong in that. But yeah, I saw a lot of vitriol, a lot of attacking on these Facebook groups about this. And I was surprised by that and that it came to me as well. Obviously not in the greatest scale, but the main thing, I guess, that, you know, moving on from this is that we need to stop seeing things the way we do. We need to see the truth. And we need to understand of how the way we're living, the system that we're living in, the idea of freedom, the idea of how things are, that things are done for money, based on money, how, you know, the technology. You know, human beings can create technology. They don't need money to do it. That's the way we've been taught. That's the way we believe. But it's not essential, and it hasn't happened historically, and in when we're in space, people will do things without the need of money. Obviously, they get paid, I assume. But the fact is, if they were stranded out on Mars, they wouldn't need money to survive. Walking Dead style or whatever. So the fact is, we need to see that. We need to see that money and the system that we're living in, the way we're living, is stifling humanity and causing suffering. We could have all the technology so that people that say in one country dies but in another country doesn't because they have the money for the technology, that doesn't need to happen, because we can share all these things. And it's only the burden of money and division and power that is stopping that. And there's plenty of my videos that talk about this. Anyway, that's where I wanted to end on a point to think about on my rant. Take care, take it easy, and peace.